here from Oak and Iron Outdoors. As a bow hunter, it is getting harder and harder to find properties to bow hunt. Now, personally for myself, I don't own any land and I don't lease any land. All the properties I hunt are either public land properties or knock-on-door permission properties. I've been getting permission from landowners over the years. I felt like I have a pretty good system in place that I utilize with these landowners, and it helps me from year to year get myself on good size bucks or big bucks, all right? With that in mind, today I'm gonna talk about how I go about getting permission on private land properties, all right? Let's go over that right now. Tip number one, folks, is you drive into their driveway and make sure that your vehicle is parked where they can see it. Then go up to their steps, knock or ring the doorbell, and then come down a step, okay? Or even a couple of steps. The goal here is to show that the landowner is in control and that you're just a minion looking for access to hunt their property, all right? You want to show that you're submissive and that you're not assertive to them, all right? Because a lot of people are gonna be apprehensive, especially in today's age, of just coming up to somebody's door randomly and knocking on that door. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is look presentable. You know, when I'm going in to look for permission that particular day, I'm clean shaving my face, combing my hair, maybe even getting a haircut. I am not wearing a hat because in many cases when you're wearing a hat, it looks like you're hiding your face a little bit, especially if you have a visor and you bring your head down, all right? When I'm going out, I'm wearing usually a basic t-shirt, a nice looking t-shirt, maybe a plaid shirt, maybe a polo. Don't overdo it. And then I like to just wear blue jeans, okay? You know, if I'm wearing khakis or even dress pants, it might look like I'm trying to sell religion or vacuum cleaners, all right? Not trying to do that. I'm just trying to look like an average guy, a respectable average guy, who's looking for permission to hunt their property, all right? So the key here is make sure that you look respectable and a firm handshake, you know. And the other thing is when they answer the door, mention who you are and state your goal. The other thing is I want to mention is that, you know, here in the upper Midwest, Southern hospitality goes a long way. You know, the days of yes ma'am and yes sir have kind of gone by the wayside. And in today's age, using yes ma'am and yes sir also shows that you're a respectable person. You shouldn't just do it for getting permission. You really should have that demeanor at all times. But look at that Southern hospitality, and believe it or not, that definitely helps out getting that trust in the landowner. Tip number three is getting your spiel ready for the landowner. And you want to get this in within 1 minute. So essentially my little spiel goes something like this. Hi, my name is Clint Ward. I live at such and such city, and I'm looking to bow hunt your property. Just so you know, it's just myself. I don't bring anyone with me. I'm probably only gonna hunt the property maybe twice, maybe 3 times per year. And I just like a piece of property that I can go to easily after work. Now I've been driving by and I've seen your property. It's a beautiful looking piece of property. If anything, it's just a great place for me to kind of get out and unwind a little bit. And I was just asking to see if I would have permission to hunt your property this year. And if so, I would be more than happy to get you some venison, no matter whether I get deer on your property or public land property or anywhere else. Would you be open for me to hunt your particular piece of property? Tip number 4, the landowner is in that stage of they're not going to say yes, but they didn't say no, and they're trying to decide. One of the best things to do to help get your foot in the door is then sometimes jut in and say, you know what, I'm just looking to hunt this particular property the last weekend of October, or even just the last Saturday. I'm only looking for 1 day to hunt your particular piece of property. It is much easier to get permission asking just for that 1 day to hunt that particular property than the entire season. A lot of times, if you can get that 1 day to hunt, okay, that allows you then to work your magic, if you want to call it that, and show them how much you appreciate that. So let's go into that next. Tip number 5, you were able to get that permission either hunt the entire season or just that one day, all right? Now, as I mentioned earlier, nothing should ever be for free. So at this particular point, you show up on that particular day, you meet the landowner. At this particular time, this isn't for you just to go grab your bow and head into the woods, all right? This is your time to talk to the landowner a little more. You'll be given permission, build up that rapport with them, and really create that connection with that landowner, right? Then you can go out hunting. When you get done hunting, if you want to, even that night or later on in the season, this is a great time to give them venison, or let's say a product or service that maybe you offer through your job or through your career. And, you know, it's not about essentially bribing them, okay? I don't want to make it look that way. It is truly building that relationship with them. In some cases, you know, I have a couple of landowners that let me bow hunt, and for them, it's just stopping on by with a 6-pack of beer and talking with them. And they enjoy that more than anything. It's just to have that chat time, one-on-one time with them. You know, some of these farmers, you know, they live a little more of a recluse life. And for you to come out there and be a respectable, good person and just spend that time with them, giving all the world to them, and they're actually more than happy and actually welcome you and want you out there more for that camaraderie. And then obviously for you to hunt and then talking about what you see on their particular piece of property. Tip number 6. The landowner is still on the fence about letting you bow hunt their property. One thing I like to sell to the landowner essentially is that you can then become a caretaker for their property. Now, a lot of landowners nowadays still have problems with trespassers, or their neighbors are coming onto their property, so on and so forth, and they don't know who is going in and on their property, right? Now, I utilize the Tacticam reveals. I also utilize the cheapo trail camera, so on and so forth. But a great selling point to them is that you can mention to them, hey, if you've had trouble with trespassers in the past, I'll be more than happy to share you my pictures on my trail cameras immediately. So as soon as the picture comes across on my phone, I will send that to you via your phone, and you will know who's on your property immediately. In some cases, that is a selling point in itself, and the landowner now sees you, okay, this person is looking out for my best interest, looking out for my property, my land, and you know what? I'm going to find out who has been wrecking my fence or been driving in my hayfield with their four-wheeler, okay? So that's kind of a nice little offer that you can make to hopefully get them to let you bow hunt their particular piece of property. Tip number 7, think outside of the box. A few years back, a buddy of mine, we actually ended up putting a portfolio together for a landowner. And what happened was the landowner bought this particular piece of property with 80 acres. It had just a small little pine plantation on it, and most of it was marsh grass. So it really didn't have much value overall. But my buddy and myself, we both knew that this particular property during the rut time frame and pre-rut, these bucks would be coming through here big time because it was situated in a perfect area amongst other great properties. So what we did is we put a portfolio together of this particular property. This landowner did not hunt at all. He bought it for investment only. And we put all of our trail camera pictures of our biggest bucks on there. We put our biggest bucks that we harvested within this portfolio. My buddy created an entire layout of how to develop the property, and we actually ended up helping make the property a little bit better. We can only do so much because it was in a wetland, and here in Wisconsin, you're not allowed to manipulate too much within wetlands. But we improved that property big time and showcased it for him. So for the several years that we were able to hunt it, we harvested some nice bucks. It didn't cost us anything except a little bit of our labor and time. And then he got to build up that property from a portfolio perspective. And then later on, he sold that property for way more than he paid for it. And we ended up losing the property because obviously he sold it. We understood that, we knew that. But that was a great way to think outside of the box to get permission to hunt a particular property. Tip number 8, the landowner tells you no, okay? But you can tell that the landowner is a talker And some of these landowners, they like to brag a little bit too, especially if their property holds very big bucks. And what I've actually had happen is after the landowner says no, I don't just walk away, especially if I know that they're a talker. So I like to stand back and just let them talk. And essentially what they'll do is they will show you the big bucks that they've shot. In some cases, they'll even tell you how they run their particular property. You just kind of keep feeding into that and say, hey, look, I know you have that big cedar swamp down there. There must be some pretty big bucks. Oh yeah, there's huge bucks through there. Every year I shoot a big buck that comes out of that cedar swamp and runs across usually to the neighbors. Now, with that being said, what you're doing is you're getting information from them to add to the piece of the puzzle, okay? Now, they don't need to always know this, all right? Especially if they've already told you no. A lot of times, since they told you no, they feel like they can tell all because you can't hunt their property. That's fine. But what they don't know is that maybe you already have permission to hunt the neighbor's property or 2 properties over. And when I get permission to hunt a particular piece of property, I will then go to the other neighbors and try to get other pieces to include into that puzzle piece. Now, a lot of times the puzzle will look incomplete because you only have a piece here and a piece there. But anytime any landowner is willing to share that information, whether it's the caliber of bucks or how the bucks utilize his particular piece of property, keep your ears open. And I can tell you right now, in my time talking to landowners, that has been one of the most valuable components that I've learned over time, and it's actually helped me get on some very nice bucks on adjacent properties, right? So, tip number 8, let the landowner talk even if they tell you no. Tip number 9, I am looking for sliver properties. What I mean by slivers is they're usually between 7 and 15 acres, very narrow pieces, and they're usually located in between these great properties or bigger properties. And a lot of times, these little properties, they don't see any humans on them because nobody hunts them, they're small, and sometimes the bucks will actually live on those slivers. But it's much easier to get permission on a sliver property than it is the bigger properties. Matter of fact, 2 pieces of property that I have are very, very small. One is 7 acres, one is 8 acres, and in both cases, the landowners were kind of like, why would you want to hunt this little piece of property that's only like 5 acres of woods, whatever it might be? But technically, I only need an acre to harvest a buck, and as long as I get permission to recover a deer on the opposing sides of the property, that's all I need, right? So look into sliver properties. It is much easier to get permission to hunt these very small acreages, okay? Assuming that they're located within great deer hunting, than going out and trying to get permission for these bigger chunks of land. Tip number 10, don't be afraid of getting told no, okay? My percentage of getting permission for access to hunt properties is right around 10 to 15%. If you are introverted, this could dissuade you, okay? And you may give up quite easily. Don't give up. Practice your speaking skills, practice talking to people, practice reading people. And the key component, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is nothing should ever be for free, okay? So either give your time, give your talent, give your service, all right? And in most cases, it's just give your time to them. Also let them know that you are a caretaker of their property and you are going to take care of their property better than they're going to take care of their property. The other thing you can offer is to help bale hay, pick stones, cut wood. A lot of those things can really help a landowner out. In most cases, I offer that. Most times, they say, no, thanks, Clint, that's totally fine. Just enjoy bow hunting my particular piece of property, all right? And then what I do at the end of every year, no matter where I got a deer, okay? So if I have several landowners, I put together a gift basket for Christmas, and it includes venison from the deer that I get. Again, it goes to every landowner, even if I didn't get a deer on their particular property. And a lot of landowners truly appreciate that. And then if you can, once again, spend that time with them, talk to them, share your hunts with them. They really enjoy that. They want to know how their property is laying out, how it's working, and they also like those stories. And I like to share those hunting stories with my landowners, especially if I get a deer on their particular piece of property. When the dog comes out and approaches you, make sure you show interest in the landowner's dog. I own 2 Brittany Spaniels, and you know what? If my Brittany Spaniels don't like you, there's a good chance I'm not gonna like you either, all right? So show interest in their dog. Believe it or not, that can go a long ways of the landowner trusting you because they trust their dog. A lot of times they trust their dog more than they trust people. So show interest in their dog. If your dog likes you, there's a very good chance the landowner is gonna like you. Well, folks, there is the bad and the good when it comes to these knock-on-door permission properties. First, the bad. You know, it seems like for every couple properties that you gain access to, you lose a couple. And a lot of times that stems from the landowner deciding to maybe lease the property, sell the property, or in most cases, what I tend to find out is that they have an up-and-coming bow hunter within the family, and that up-and-coming bow hunter now strictly wants to hunt that particular piece of property. But at the same time, that's why I make it a goal of myself every year to get out and knock on doors and try to get new permission on new properties, just so that way I always have that component, that plethora of properties to bow hunt. For me, I like virgin sits, and I also like breaking down new properties. So for me, I like hunting different properties. Whatever type of property it might be, that is a fun component for myself. And in some ways, yes, maybe it's a little bit of a game that you play of leapfrog with these particular properties, but that's just the cold hard truth to it. But once again, the key is the relationships, building those relationships, building that rapport with that landowner, and always give back. Matter of fact, the best relationships that I have with those landowners, or the landowners that currently let me hunt, those are my longest properties that I've been able to bow hunt. I think the longest one I have right now is roughly about 9 or 10 years. And I've just built a very good relationship with that particular landowner. So, once again, hit that subscribe button, and until next time, Clint from Open Iron Outdoors.